Hello, family, and welcome to another episode of Role Model Experts Cafe interview series. I'm your host, Dr. L, the Parent Whisperer, and today with me, I have a special friend of mine, Miss Diane Forster. And she's an amazing person. I had a chance to talk with her, and I loved how she shows up in the world and her message and what she wants to do. And I thought that you guys, as role models, definitely need to hear what she's all about and what she's doing and basically connect with her. Yet another support for you guys. So, without further ado, Diane, welcome to the show. I'm glad to have you here. Welcome our audience for being here. Tell us about a little bit about yourself and how you got here, your personal story, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, well, thank you, Dr. L, for having me. And hello, everyone. So nice to be here. Well, my story is a journey, like most people's stories. I grew up in New York. My dad had a business transfer when I was 17 years old. So I moved and graduated high school at a different high school. And it was my senior year. So it was a really traumatic time in my life. But of course, it ended up being the best thing that ever happened to me. But I ended up going to San Diego State College and getting into the advertising and television industry. And I spent 32 years in that industry, and I just sort of fell into it. It sort of picked me, I didn't pick it. And so I spent 8 years in the ad business in LA before moving to Chicago to get married, and I switched to television sales. And I spent 20 of those years, my last 20, at Disney ABC. And while I was married and raising my twins and working at ABC, I came up with this idea one day on an Easter Sunday for a kitchen product. And it was a frustration in the kitchen. And I ruined my dish of deviled eggs in 1 second and came up with this sifting spoon in my mind. And so I set out on this quest to find this thing that I could see in my mind, this product, and I couldn't find it. And this little voice whispered in my ear and said, Diane, you need to create this. So I went through the process of inventing. And it wasn't anything that I thought that was going to be part of my journey. And I honestly didn't know what I was doing, but I was just putting one foot in front of the other. And I had a mentor in the kitchenware industry who was helping me and desperately trying to talk me out of what I was doing. But my mantra was, well, I just want to see where this goes.
Mhm.
Well, where it led to was winning an innovation award at the International Houseware Show in Chicago and
Wow.
landing me on QVC, where we sold out in 6 minutes. So I tell people this story because the product is called the Spifter. So think spoon sifter, Spifter. It's a sifting spoon that you use to decorate your foods and beverages with your sugars and spices. It's a finishing tool. It's just a fun decorating tool. But nothing in the world existed like this. And so I always tell people this story because it did a few things. Number one, it opened my eyes to entrepreneurship, right? I never even thought about entrepreneurship before. And number two, it proved to me that, you can go from a concept and an idea to all the way to QVC, and this was just straight out of the box. Now, I don't want to say that it wasn't without a lot of work, a lot of expense, a lot of time, energy, money, lots of things happened. However, it was worth every bit of it because that's the beauty. The beauty is in the journey. It's not that end destination. And you get to that end destination by going through all of that. So I had this background in advertising and TV sales, and then I had this background in inventing. And the creation of I Have Today was my personal journey. And I was married to a man who was a good man in many ways, and we loved each other, but we just were not in love with each other. And I stayed and struggled in that marriage for over 20 years, 20 years. And I know that there are people out there who are hearing that going, I know, me too, or I know somebody who's done that, but I kept struggling in it. I kept fighting for it, in and out of therapy and counseling, and different events happened in my life. My mom got colon cancer and ultimately died. And at the same time that was going on, I was going through infertility issues, and I was in and out of procedures and being told by my doctor that I would never be able to have kids at the same time that my mother was dying. And anyway, a month after my mom passed away, I ended up getting pregnant with my twins, and who are 23 years old now. And our life, my husband's and my life, my former husband and I, became all about the kids. So, we put our needs and the things that were not going well for us and for me, I just put that on the back burner because everything was about the kids. And so you can't go on like that indefinitely. You just can't. And so I had a breaking moment, and it was in June of 2011. It was a regular Saturday afternoon. We were out with the kids, taking them to and from errands and sporting events, and we ended up at some friend's house for a barbecue with several other families. And when we left that night to go home, the fighting started. And when I got home, I just snapped, and I went up in the bathroom, locked the door, took out 2 full bottles of prescription pain medication that I had sitting there, and I dumped them in my hand, and I was ready to end my life.
Wow.
And I just couldn't take the pain and the loneliness any longer. I just couldn't do it. And that same voice that whispered in my ear to create the spifter screamed in my ear and said, Diane, you are not ending your life this way. You need to go get help so that you can tell your story and you can help others. And I threw my hands up in the air and I said, well, you need to show me the way. By the way, the pills got knocked out of my hand by that force. They were literally, my arm got chopped. Like it was not happening.
Wow.
And so I wiped my tears, cleaned up that mess, went out and kissed my kids goodnight. And then the next day I reached out for help. I called a therapist and said, I need help. I am changing my life.
How old were the kids at the time?
They were, let's see, that was in 2011. So they were, oh my God, I'm so bad at math right now. I can't figure this out. 13, wow. I'm sorry, 13 when it happened. Yeah, they were 13. Right on the cusp, almost 14 years old.
Right.
They were in junior high. And that's just started this path of self-discovery and falling in love with myself and healing and spiritual awakening. And so many things started happening for me. And it took another 6 months or so to get out of that relationship and that marriage and some other things to occur. But I was, once I was out, I had a brief pity party for myself, why me, why this? And then I woke up and said, I woke up to do a chant one day. I was doing meditation every single day. That was part of my healing, meditation every day, journaling every day, reading every day, really just immersed in all of that. And I was guided to do an I forgive you chant. And so I sat on the couch for 20 minutes and just chanted, I forgive you, I forgive you, I forgive you, I forgive you, for the entire time. And tears were streaming down my face. It was truly the most cathartic thing I had ever been through. And I was forgiving myself. I was forgiving him. I was forgiving everyone of everything in my entire life. That's what was coming up and out of me. It was extraordinary. And so when I finished that chant, I said, wait a minute, I did this. I'm the one responsible for the condition of my life. No one did this to me. I did it. I was the enabler and the allower, and I didn't set healthy boundaries, and I gave up on my dreams and goals. And, I don't want this anymore. I want an extraordinary life, and I'm going to do everything I can to get it. So now the kids are in freshman year of high school. So fast forward 2 years later, I wake up one morning with a poem in my head called I Have Today. And I had been writing a lot. And once you invent and once you go through this awakening, you can't shut it off. The creativity is flowing. So I was writing stories and poetry and creating things like crazy. But on this particular day, when I wrote I Have Today, when I finished writing it, I looked down at it and I said, this is way more than a poem. This is a movement. This is what God was talking about in the bathroom 2 years ago. I'm supposed to help other people who don't know their self-worth discover their true divinity, power, and purpose.
Mhm.
Because if I was living like this, how many other millions of people are living like this?
Exactly.
And so how I could see the spifter in my mind that day in the kitchen with the frustration, I could see I have today in my mind, like just above me, production company, a network. And I could see me speaking, I could see the book, I could see me coaching, I could see the TV show and the podcast. I literally could see it all. And so note to everybody, pay attention to those visions and those ideas, because it is the universe calling you to your to your purpose and to your destiny.
Mhm.
And so 2 years after that, the twins graduated high school, and I made a bold decision. Their last day of high school was my last day at ABC. I quit my job with no net. I didn't know
Mm.
what I was going to do. I sold my house. I sold everything in it. I got them off to college, and I moved from Chicago to San Diego with the same mantra that created the Spifter, which was, I just want to see where this goes. And so I just had my 5-year anniversary, and it has been nothing short of extraordinary, so extraordinary. And I did all those things. I wrote a best-selling book. I am a speaker. I did a TEDx talk. You know, I get to coach people. I do have a TV show. I do have a podcast, and I get to help so many people in the world create their what I call have it all life. And I just found out today that I just won the Global Excellence Award for Life Coach of the Year
Ah,
in California from Lux Life magazine. Yeah, I just found that out. So
congratulations.
your dreams and your life and your vision is waiting for you to step up to it. So anyway, that's my story. And it took us, my bottom was a suicide attempt to wake me up to what it is I'm really here for and what I'm supposed to be doing.
Wow.
So
Thank you for sharing that. That's a powerful story and a powerful message. I
thank you.
really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Um,
My
so,
pleasure.
so currently, then, where you're at, when you look back on where you were and how you began, of course, it's much more difficult when you're in the situation and trying to dig yourself out. Uh,
For
what
sure.
what was the challenge, and what do you see a challenge for the people that might be in that situation that they need to dig themselves out of?
Mm. Well, I'll tell you that the challenge for me was there was so much shame. I was so afraid. What were people going to think?
Hmm.
How were my kids going to deal with that? How are they going to respond to it? And meanwhile, the truth of the matter is they saw what was happening, and you know, they're better off with us apart than
Hmm.
we were together. But it was all of those things, thinking about everybody else, what's everybody else going to think, until the point where I just said, I can't be doing this for everybody else. I've got to honor me and do what's right for me. So the challenge was, being able to release the guilt, the fear, the shame, the doubt, all of those emotions that came along with making a decision. Because truly, Dr. L, to the outside world, it looked like I had it all. I
Hmm.
did. I had the packaging in my life looked so good. But what was going on the inside was a very different story. And so I share that with you because people have to be really honest with yourself. I mean, I went from living in a 5-bedroom, 3.5-bathroom house with a built-in swimming pool in the car and all of those things, to I live in a tiny little 1-bedroom apartment at the beach. And I'm so happy. I'm so happy. My kids are thriving and great. And so the challenge was being able to step up and own my life. Own my life. Yes.
It's always
So if you're,
amazing. Sorry, I was going to say it's
no,
always amazing how what the world sees you as sometimes is basically how true you are to yourself. So you end up with people who have this impression of you, but the reason that impression is so off is because you've been too busy pleasing and presenting to them something that's not
yep.
exactly you, right?
Hmm.
So sorry, you were
So
saying.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And the thing is, once I actually spoke, made the decision and spoke up, and then had to start telling the world, telling all my neighbors and my friends and people, all I got was love and support.
Hmm.
100% of the way, love and support. And the few people, few people who might have said or did things that kind of weren't appropriate, weren't really friends to begin with. And so I received this outpouring of love and support, and it just warmed my heart and let me know, God, I am loved and lovable just as I am by myself, without all of these other trappings or circumstances. I don't want to call them trappings, but these conditions.
Right.
So yeah, that was really what it was. And it was self-inflicted, totally. It's always us who does this to ourselves, right?
Right. It's, a
Yeah,
lot of times the perceived what if is much bigger and worse than what actually does happen. And a
so
mentor of mine
true.
once said, "Don't try to solve a problem you don't have yet."
I know.
So
Oh, that's good. Yeah,
definitely.
exactly.
Awesome.
That's
So,
powerful.
so what are some of the tips and secrets that you have for people who would like to um, kind of get out of these situations that they find themselves in? And why
Mm,
is it important in the first place? I mean, some people I know that lead an entire life never discovering themselves or becoming true to their mission and their purpose. Uh, but in your opinion, I have my own
mhm.
opinions. But in your opinion, why do you think that it is more important to be true to yourself than just maintain status quo?
Mm. Well, because you came into this world as one and you're leaving it as one. And your role and duty to yourself is to live your most extraordinary life, whatever that is for you. And it's not what anyone else tells you it is. And if anybody does, that's typically opinion. It's not counsel, it's someone coming from their perspective. They have not walked in your shoes. So I would say the first thing to do is, and this is what I say, if you're not jumping out of your bed every day, excited about the day in front of you, chances are you could use more happiness in your life,
Hmm.
because you are supposed to feel happiness every single day. Maybe not all day, every day, but you should be feeling happy with your life. And that doesn't mean you have to do what I did, which is the complete tossing everything away and the full reinvention. Although I got to say it's exhilarating. It's scary, but exhilarating. Um, but it could be starting to ask yourself the right question. Ask yourself questions, but make sure you're asking yourself the right questions. Like, am I really happy? What makes me happy? Do I even know the definition of that yet? If this was the end of my life right now, if this was the last day, say I only had 30 days to live, or a year to live, or a day to live, would I be good leaving the planet right now? Am I good with everyone and everything? Will I feel like I've lived a life, a fully worthwhile life? And then what are those things? Because you don't have to make it hard. The hardest part is sitting down and answering those questions. That is just getting crystal clear with you, with yourself. And that's my tip. Ask yourself the really, really clarifying questions, because I've done my surveys, and it's anywhere between 70 and 90% of people say they're not happy. That's crazy.
That is
That's
crazy.
crazy. Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
you mentioned exhilaration for leaving something behind and moving forward to something new. And of course, there are people who just want to keep starting new things without finishing them. So I can understand you were describing how you had the challenges, and that's with anything, right? No matter what your dream, what your passion is, you're going to encounter challenges and difficulties. So when you were going through those challenges and difficulties, a lot of times we start doubting ourselves about, did I make the right choice and stuff. What kept you going through those challenges, um, and basically made you reach where you are today?
This is such a good question, Dr. Al. Okay, so first let me preface it by saying that my work and I have today as a coach, as a host of everything that I do is focused on mindset. Mindset is everything. And I am an expert at this. I'm self-proclaimed expert. I'm telling you, I got this baby down and I still have to work on it every single day. Tony Robbins has to work on it every single day. Oprah Winfrey works on it every single day. A mindset is a muscle that has to be worked every single day. So as I was going through this and dealing with my challenges that come up, which I still do, I still have them. What I do is I do the mindset work that I need to do first, which is for me, it's prayer and meditation and journaling and getting back connected to source, getting back connected to myself, getting myself in alignment, and then start asking myself questions like, is this resonating with me? Is this really important? And where do I see this going? Knowing that there are I don't believe in mistakes. I believe everything is a lesson along the way, and that every single experience is an opportunity for you to learn more from that experience. So in my business, because you said, so I'll focus on this, where you're changing things like, oh, you start and stop, you start and stop. It is my belief that it is okay to quit. It is my belief that you do not have to stay with something just because you started it. If it's not resonating with you, I'm not saying it's not going to get hard and it won't get difficult at times, but if it's truly not resonating with you, and you don't feel that sense of authenticity, yeah, this is really me, it's time to take a look at that. And that also, it's okay to pivot. It doesn't actually have to be stopping this thing altogether here, but you can revise, you can innovate, you can pivot things. So just because you said you were going to grow up and be a doctor, let me pick a lawyer. Just because you said you were going to grow up and be a lawyer, and you get there and you get to law school and it's not resonating with you, then it's not resonating with you. It's not. I thought I wanted to be a court reporter. I was going to, while I was working full time at the ad agency when I was young, they offered me a job and I took it and I I quit college. And so I said, all right, well, I'm going to go to court reporting school at night because that's what I thought I wanted to do while I'm working full time at the ad agency. So I did that for 2 years. And I had to learn all this medical terminology and all this legal terminology. And I thought, wait a minute. And then I wasn't even excited about it. And I said, wait, I'm going to come out of here and I have to learn all this stuff. And I'm not going to be a doctor or a lawyer. Like, this isn't for me. I'm way too big a personality. So I quit again. And now I'm not telling anybody to quit school. I'm just telling you what worked for me. This was my experience. I am a student of life. I am constantly enrolled in classes and courses and reading. So that's what I'm going to say. Don't be afraid to pivot. Find the things that light you up. Find the things that you love doing, like that you can't wait to get into, like mindset work. I'm addicted to mindset work. I love it. So that's what I would say to that. And
That's
I hope I
very
didn't
powerful.
offend anybody.
No. I actually think that you hit it right you hit the nail right on the head. Because what a lot of people envision is that, okay, well, I need to center on myself. But you as a person are a moving target. You are evolving, you're developing. So you cannot center your life around who you were 5 years ago. That's not going to make you happy. That life has to evolve with you as you evolve too. So your wants, your desires and dreams, everything, your message can change over time as well. So yes, easier said than done, which brings me to my next point. Tell us about what you do and how you help people nowadays, because ultimately what it comes down to is that this stuff can get complicated if you're sitting in the room by yourself. And as you can for sure tell, it's making those connections, connecting to people that really makes a huge leap forward. So tell us about what you do and how you help people.
Well, I'll tell you what I did and then I'll tell you what I do. So
Sounds
for me, when I knew I wanted to reinvent myself, I found myself a coach, and I said, I need you to help me take all these things that are going on in my head and these dreams and these goals and these desires, and help me put it down on paper, help me organize my thoughts. So that really helped me in my reinvention, making that bold move from moving cross country. Yeah, I quit my job and didn't have a job, haven't had a job since. That took a lot of thought and planning, right? So what I do is I help people. This is when anybody says, well, what do you do for a living? I say, I help make people's dreams come true. And they go, oh, wow, how do you do that? I take all of that that's in your head, and I help you get the clarity, the focus, and the direction on what it is you need to do and want to do with your life, personally, professionally, and I call it's the have it all system. So there are a few things that I do with clients first, and where we get super clear with a strategic life assessment. And then I create a personalized mantra meditation for them to clear the mindset noise in their head. They look at the 8 key areas of their life and where they are and where they want to be 1 to 3 years from now. And then we put the plan of action together. So I'm blending a lot of the left brain, the tactical, the strategies, all of that, with a lot of the right brain. That's the dreamer, the creator, the visionary, the metaphysical, all of that. And because you really need both things together, and you can't really do one without the other. So that's what I do. And I serve mostly women. I will say women, I call them in their second chapter, which is between the ages of like 35 and 60, although that's not all. But any woman who's really ready, who's not happy, to really up-level her life and live to her highest, greatest, fullest potential. Let go of the story from the past, the limiting beliefs, all of that, and really be intentional in the now and be future forward facing. She's my client.
A lot of times, I love your actually audience that you are just describing, because they're natural givers. They're usually selfless, and they wear many different hats. And they're either a mom or a spouse, or we're a professional that had to give that up to do something else. And this constant focusing on supporting others around them sometimes gets them off center as far as who they are really. And even sometimes they know who they are, but then it becomes difficult for them to prioritize and
Right.
start from that center basically, and move from a position of strength and helping others around them. So definitely. So thank you. All right. So how can people find out more about you and your programs?
Of course. Well, okay. You can go to my website, dianeforster.com. You can follow me on social media at Diane Forster Official, and also at I Have Today with Diane Forster. That's my TV show, my podcast. You can find, just Google me, you'll find it. And then on my website, there is a section there for a complimentary session with me. But I do have a bonus gift for your audience.
Awesome.
If you are feeling stuck, like you want more out of your life and you don't really know, I have my 3-step blueprint on how to create a have it all life. And that will help you get some of that clarity, focus, and direction that you need. And that is at myhaveitalllife.com. So
I'll make sure I put all of that in the description box. So I invite all of you guys in the audience to go ahead, check the description box, make sure that you go ahead and talk to Diane, connect with her, and find out. I mean, her message and what she wants to do is amazing. So I definitely encourage you guys to go ahead and get connected and learn more about how you can go ahead and center and show up as the full self that you guys are. So awesome. Well, thank you, Diane. Is there any other final words of wisdom before we part?
Just that all you have is today, and the past is behind you, and the future is what you get to create in your now. So be very discerning with the way you use this today. Use it, squeeze all the juice out of it.
Love it.
So
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
My pleasure.
I really appreciate you being here. I appreciate what you do. I appreciate our audience for taking the time to be with us today. And by the way, if you guys haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and click on subscribe button so that you can get notified of the latest interviews and experts that come on our show. And we look forward to seeing you on our future episodes as well. Thank you, Diane. And I hope to have you on our future summits as well. Cheers.
Thank you so much, Dr. L. Take care. Bye-bye.